Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, June the 28th, and it's hard to believe, but we are almost halfway through 2020, and I'm sure it's a year that we will probably all remember for the rest of our lives. This is a channel about cross-stitching, and I'm here to talk to you about the cross-stitching that I've done this week and my plans for the upcoming week. We're going to follow the typical format, so I'm going to show a previous finish, I'm going to show you the stitching that I've done this week, then I've got a little bit of haul, and then I've got a little bit of chat about the topic for this week, which is let's talk Jolly July, because July is only a couple of days away. So let's get started. So let's talk about a previous finish of mine. So this is Glendon Place's Ode to Snowflake. I'm going to hold it back. So this is, I've just framed it in a white frame. So this is by Glendon Place. I have stitched this on 28 count Mystic Lugana from Picture This Plus. So there's always a distinction between over-dyed fabrics, between linens and even weaves. So this is one where if you got the fabric in a linen, it would actually still show up a little darker than this. It would come out more towards a darker navy. But the Lugana in this particular colorway, for someone who likes, blues like me, this is a pretty good over-dyed version of that. So again, this is on 28 count Mystic Lugana from Picture This Plus. The pattern is Glendon Place's Ode to Snowflake, and in case it's hard to read the poem that's on here, it says, Old Man Winter upon us blows, casting chills and driven snows. No, casting chills and driven places. But in place of the warmth he takes is the awe and wonder of snowflakes. So this pattern, surprisingly, you would think it wouldn't call for a lot, because it doesn't, at first glance, look like you've got a lot going on there. The pattern calls for Karen wildflowers in Snowflake. I chose to use Weeks Dye Works Snowflake, because that's what I had. And when you look at the Weeks Dye Works Snowflake, it actually has a little hint of very, very pale pink, blue, and green, which is actually ties in with the Kreinik and the beads that are in this. So again, I don't think it's going to be easy for you to see any of that, because welcome to the nature of cameras and Flosstube. But embedded in here, besides the Weeks Dye Works Snowflake floss, there are 3 colors of Kreinik No. 4 braid and 4 colors of Mill Hill beads in this. And again, they're all in very pastel shades, which is why I chose the Weeks Dye Works Snowflake. Now I've just had that lovely little thing. It's a partially cloudy, and at some point today it's supposed to rain, so I think this is going to be one where like the light's going to come in and out quite dramatically, so I don't know how this one's going to go, because I think we've already had a couple of changes here already. But welcome to weather where I live. It's anybody's guess what's going on. So this actually, I chose to do this one because we're almost into July for the Jolly July. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it also came up because after last week, and I was talking that I was going to put my aunt's, the cross-stitching that I had done for my aunt, into my guest bedroom. I've decided not to do that. I want it to be out where I can see it on a regular basis. So that, of course, started me on an episode of moving, pictures around the house like nobody's business. So I feel like everything's been rearranged, and so I chose that this was going to be this week's previous finish. So again, that is Glendon Place's Ode to Snowflake. So what have I been stitching on this week? Well, no big surprise. Welcome to the Marbeck Nativity, which is going to be featured on this channel until the dumb thing is done. So I actually stuck with the plan from that I talked about last week. So I am continuing on with the Kreinik. So I'm no longer working on the Bethlehem star, which was the two angels, and the star, which is the top part. And I have moved on to continue working on the Kreinik in the star as it's coming down. And where I'm at right now, at this point, is I'm just going to keep working on the star and these beams that are coming down, because I'm not fighting with the Kreinik as much as I did when I first started working on this piece, which was when, anyway, I thought this would die a slow death because I would never be able to do it, but I'm doing okay. So again, this is the Holy Family from the Marbeck Nativity, or otherwise known as the Serendipity Nativity. So where did I get to? Yeah, this doesn't look exciting at all. So and again, it's really hard to tell here. So here is where the end of the top, the Bethlehem star finishes. So what did I do? I came and I worked this all the way down, and it actually goes down and around the thingy, and you can almost just see the top of it coming back up around the thing. So I have stitched the entire outer border of the center star all the way down. So I've completely finished that particular color all the way down. And then I went and matched that on the other side all the way down, and it comes around the roll. Because as I was working on the top part of the star, I discovered it's, you do the center part, you do the outer part, and then there's some 32 Kreinik blending filament here that's generally only, anywhere between 2 and 4 stitches. And then it just becomes this gigantic fill-in. So the interesting part for me as I was looking at it, and I just have to figure out where I'm at. So down to here, where my finger is, across here, that whole chunk is entirely filled with Kreinik blending filament of various colors. The whole thing, solid Kreinik. And when you get down to wherever that was that I was holding my finger, that's where the top of Joseph's head starts. So from a technical, does it look like I've accomplished a lot? Probably not tremendously, but at least I've kind of got the gist of where it is, and I know that I have to work down to wherever it was that I was holding my finger, that all of that is solid Kreinik. And then it starts to get a little sparser. We still, of course, have to take these streams because they come all the way down as well. And what I discovered as I was contemplating one evening that, maybe I didn't have to concentrate on a color or whatever, that I could do it over here. But the problem is the way that I count this out, I really need to know where the top of the page starts, or else I'm going to get myself completely screwed up and I'm not going to know what's going on. So I'm back on finish the star. And again, so an interesting thing for me is, towards the end of this week, I was like getting a little bit tired of it. I still kept on it because I am, as I've said before, I am feeling some pressure that I need to solidly work on this and get this done so I can actually give it as a gift to someone. So, again, I had an evening. So towards the end of the week, once I'd gotten all of that accomplished, I came back, and again, because it's do the outer borders and then come back in and work on this center part, because it is consistently 5 stitches across all the way down till you hit about just below Joseph's head, and then it gets slightly different, but you've got a good chunk of just being able to go, it's exactly 5 stitches. So I've in my head, I know exactly where I need to sort of go, okay, now you need to go look at the pattern and start paying attention. But there's probably about another 250 stitches of that just in rows of 5 all the way down. So I've got a ways to go on that. So that's where that's looking. Yeah, this is not going to turn into the most exciting YouTube channel ever, because it's going to be, hi, welcome to Marbeck. Hi, welcome to Marbeck. Hi, welcome to Marbeck. But I did, again, I said I had that moment. I was heading, you know, towards the end of the week where I was like, oh, I might want to do something different. So you just never know. I might have that day where I decide to stitch on something else, but it's been okay. At least I know how much more of the star I've got left to go. So that's really the entirety of my stitching this week, was that. So again, welcome after that, you know, monster video that I did, you know, a few weeks ago. This is going to be a very, as far as I'm concerned, a very reasonably timed episode. So that's that. That's my stitching in a nutshell. Easy. So let's move on to haul, because there is some haul this week to show. Some of it you'll laugh at. And tying in with what I've just worked on. So when I told you last week, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about that I had reached out to Serendipity to see if the specialty frame for this piece was still available, and they said that it was. So I decided I was gonna go ahead and just order it, because I don't want to get to that point where at some point when I get this finished, turn around and then sort of not be able to get the specialty frame for it. So I ordered it and it arrived this week. So it actually came quite quickly. And I unpacked it and I laughed to myself when I just wanted to make sure it arrived safely. I know that I've said that this is a large piece. And when you look at the frame, so it came, so there's 5 panels. Let's just go back to, so that's what it's going to end up looking like. So these 5 panels. So not surprisingly, they came not attached. They've got all the hardware on them. All you have to do is slip the pins in them to actually connect them all. But they came as 5 separate panels that of course pack into each other. You know, hey, great. It's much easier to ship that box than the one if they were all completely attached. And so what I'm going to show you, all I've done is I've taken out the center panel, because of course that's the largest one. That's the piece that I'm working on right now, and I had a really good chuckle. So here is the frame for the center panel. There's the bottom. So even from where I'm sitting, the whole thing does not fit into. So if I put it on my lap and I sit tall, I fit in the frame. It's that big. And I know I've said this before on this channel that I actually have seen a picture of it on either Pinterest or somewhere on the web, or I don't know where I saw it, where someone's actually using it as a fireplace screen at Christmas. It really is that large when you put all of them together. And yeah, I was looking at it and going, yeah, it would do quite nicely as a fireplace screen in front of my fireplace. The person that I'm planning on giving this to also has a fireplace. I don't know that they'll always want to have it in front of the fireplace, but I've got a couple of options in my head that I've decided for them for Christmas, where they can do it. But yeah, I kind of had a chuckle and went like, you know, even as I was setting up for this, I'm going like, it doesn't fit. It doesn't actually, you can't see the entire frame in the screen. But at least I have it. It's arrived. I've got it. So again, I'm trying to use this as encouragement to myself to keep going and get this finished up. And again, as you're watching me do this, it's not like I'm making like the speediest progress ever. But I don't hate it yet. And I still am going like, I think once I get through the Kreinik, and because in my head, I think I'm going like the Kreinik's the really hard part. The Kreinik's the really hard part. I think if I got all the Kreinik done, then to sit there and go, you just have to do the regular DMC stitching. Well, I think that might go faster. Even though I butchered those pink stitches last week and I haven't taken them out, in my head, I think that will go faster. So that's piece number 1, and that certainly is by far the most expensive piece of haul that came this week. But after being really well behaved, I haven't been able to help myself. I've seen a couple of things and have brought them into the stash. So this is a relatively new pattern by Cottage Garden Samplings called Hello Spring. So it looks like she's doing one for each of the seasons. I think the summer one has also come out. So that's that. Now, for anybody who knows me, I'm probably going to change a couple of the colors in here. Might change a few more than that. Again, I was looking at this and kind of looking at how it looks compared to the colors in the Elizabeth's Designs Butterfly Square, and went, they're probably relatively similar. I just need to change a few things here, and I think the two of those things would actually look pretty good together. Apparently, those are my spring things. So that was new this week. The other thing that I bought, even though I have a large fabric stash, I couldn't help myself. I saw this. My LNS had one package of this. So this is 32 count gray and white basalt Lugana from Swigert. It's funny because somebody said, it was quite funny because they looked at me and they said, would you ever stitch anything on that? And I was like, yes, I could see me putting something on that. And they were actually they kind of looked quite surprised. So I always vote more gray than the natural linen. I call them brown linens. So natural flax, raw, straw, any of those things. I tend not to use any of those colors. I always tend to end up going more gray than that. So this is, and again, in my head, what you use this for is winter patterns. So it looks like random snow. You just have to find versions of winter themed patterns that will fit on your piece, and off to the races. So they had one package of this, and so I picked it up because it was there. And in these days, I'm now kind of going like, I'm trying to be really well behaved because I do have a large stash, and as you can see exactly how many things I'm completing. But these days, with the backlog in the chain, I feel like if I see something, I might grab it now, really, because I just don't know when the next version of shipments are coming. And it was interesting because I did, yesterday I was looking at one of the distributors' sites and was in my head chuckling to myself because I know very well that there's a gigantic backlog in the supply chain throughout this entire thing. And, you know, again, I'm watching some shop Flosstube channels, and they're commenting on things going like, I know, we thought we would have it by now. We don't. The manufacturer themselves is like, they're for sure running, you know, X number of days. And I'm calling it easily 10 days. Let's call it 2 weeks. Add in some fudge factor for backlog in the shipping system. You know, things are taking a long time to get. And on this one particular distributor's website, I was, again, because I was looking at some, looking for some Lugana things, and had a moment where, anyway, was looking for some Lugana things and had some questions. So I went to a distributor's website, and in my head, I chuckled. I don't think, they probably don't feel great about it by themselves, but I think it was something like their basics, like 32 count antique white Belfast is currently temporarily out of stock at the distributors. Like, so even if your shop is wanting to get it, their distributor doesn't have it. And, you know, again, I don't know this distributor at all. Don't talk to them. I have no idea what it other than means like right now they don't have it. I'm sure somebody's making it somewhere, and whether it's already been shipped to them and it's just been caught up in the shipping backlog of, you know, whatever, or, you know, it's taking longer to make because people are, you know, doing social distancing at workplaces and trying to keep their people safe. There is a backlog in the system, and we all have to, and I'm going to say it again, practice the art of patience. Patience with each other, patience with our LNSs and online shops. Everybody in this system is absolutely doing their best, given the current situations. Certainly, one of the shops had made the comment that as a business, they are required, so this was a business in the US, that they are required to follow the CDC guidelines of what's appropriate and how the CDC guidelines interact with what their state requirements are and federal. And, you know, in the US, there's all of that stuff. I certainly know where I live in Canada, that my LNSs were both, you know, they're having to factor in what the provincial government is telling them that they are allowed to do, combined with their staff, the safety of their staff, the interests of their staff. And I'm all for, let's do safety first. You know, we all know we've got stuff to stitch on. It might not be the hottest craze right now. You might not be able to get the thing where you go like, okay, and I'm going to pick on Long Dog Sampler only because I think they do fantastic patterns and I love what they did for Pandemic. But, you know, for all those people that are starting Pandemic, for some of us, like if I wanted to do it on a specific color that I don't have in my stash, I can't walk into my LNS and get it right now. And I don't know what the time lag would be for them to order it, actually get it in, because there's a backlog in the system. Everybody who's ordered that, you know, for my LNSs for sure, I know that everybody who's already put in an order, so somebody 2 weeks ago ordered that fabric, when that shipment comes in, that person who ordered 2 weeks before me, they get their piece cut first. And they may or may not have enough for Pandemic, because Pandemic's not a small chart. You know, if you are doing all of it in one color, you know, if you need a hank of silk, you know, Silks for You. Last time I checked, they were doing some inventory stock, and I think they were close to getting a shipment. But again, once the shipment comes in, they've got to do the dyeing. I don't know how many orders they already have. So we all just need to practice some patience, work on the stash that we have, because most of us have some stash. The size of the stash could be different. Some of us have more, some of us have left, but I'll bet you that we all have some stash. And certainly with the Be Well hashtag, there were lots of designers that put out free charts. You know, they're smaller charts, so you can always search for that hashtag and find those charts. Stitch one of those. Use the, you know, I don't think any of them you sort of go like, I need a ton of floss. You can use the floss that you have in your stash. You can make it your own. You can personalize it. Use the colors that you've got. You know, there's lots of stuff out there for us to do with your existing stash. So I'm also gonna, I've gone and I've checked. So Pandemic, of course, from Long Dog Sampler, which I talked about last week, is still available, but it is now a pattern that you will need to pay for. It was only free for that 1 week, so I'm hoping all of you that really were interested went and took advantage of that. And Long Dog Samplers, thank you so much for your incredibly generous gift to this community, because the gift of a pattern like that's, and people were going crazy. You could see it across all the Facebook groups and on Instagram. A very, very, very generous gift from them. So I do want to just do one more sort of plug for, let's all be respectful of copyright. I mentioned this last week where I said, so just because you took advantage of their gift to the community and downloaded the chart for free, if you've got a friend who didn't know about it, is just coming in only, you know, for whatever reason, only just found out about it, I just want to remind everybody that you are not allowed to provide them the pattern for free just because you got it for free. It was a gift to you, and I think for such a generous gift from Long Dog Samplers, that we need to be very respectful of the copyright and recognize that for anybody who was not able to take advantage of that gift, that if they want that chart now, that they have to pay for it. That's how it works. Think of it like a sale on anything else. If you've got a store where you buy things and you say, hey, this week we're having, think of it like Black Friday and Cyber Monday and the week that goes up. So let's just say that's a week. Between Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales, it generally goes for a week. So if you've got someone who misses the big, discount on a television during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, when they come in 2 weeks later, either you support, if you don't support them going and having an absolute hissy fit in the store that they don't get the exact same deal that was available the week before because they missed it, then you should respect copyright laws. I'm also just going to say, for people, I'm talking about patterns that are available for free currently on the website. I just want everybody to recognize that those are also copyright charts, and the fact that they are free now does not guarantee that they are going to be free forever. So a couple of things. So if you find one that you like, my recommendation is download it when you see it. Take advantage of it, because it isn't always necessarily going to be available. I know that recently that there are some patterns that someone had previously made available for free to the stitching community, and those patterns have been removed. And I think we need to show that person the respect they deserve and honor the copyright of their stuff. It used to be available in the public domain. It is no longer available in the public domain, which means those patterns should not be shared amongst people. So if you're talking about copyright and you believe that people should respect copyright, then you also need to respect it when someone removes their stuff from the public domain, and respect the copyright that goes along with that as well. Speaking of free patterns, this one showed up, it sort of came up as on Instagram as someone who's going like, there seems to be a renewed interest in my pattern, so I'm gonna show it again and re-put it on Instagram. So again, this is a free pattern. I actually really like this one. I think this one is really summery. I had actually downloaded it when it first came out on Instagram, so it isn't new to me, but I don't know that everybody necessarily is on Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I'm terrible on Instagram. I'm terrible about posting anything. I'm really on there just to see what people are doing. And when very kind and generous people sort of say, here's a chart from me for free, I'm really good about trying to take advantage of those when that happens. So I just want to do a little plug for this one. So this is Lemonade. And for people who know me, I think they might be surprised that I'm even interested in this chart, because, it's got lemons in it and that's yellow, and I'm not really a yellow fan, but for sure, I actually really like this one. I think this is a really nice chart. It's very summery, just Lemonade. The colors are really great. Yeah, so even when I saw it the first go around, I was like going, I think that's a really great summer chart. So this is free on Instagram at Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts. Of course, I'm butchering the name here. If you go onto Instagram and you search for Sapphire MTN, it should help populate that. I am going to try and put a link directly to the Instagram site. I think you'll have to scroll down a bit to get to it. But this is one of her charts. Very generous from her. I think it's a great chart. So Sapphire Mountain, I want to say Handcrafts. As soon as I get off this, I'll probably haul them up and go like, so close. But anyway, so that's Lemonade. That's a free one that's available off of Instagram. I quite like it. And again, it's sort of come up again. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about things, and you just never know what I'm going to do. So I'll put a link to that in the box below. And while I was doing assorted things, this is where I'm going to say, hey, if any of you come up with brilliant ideas. So I have this smaller piece of, this is 28 count Babbling Brook. Now it looks pretty blue on camera. I would say it's still blue in real life. It probably tends to have a little more of like a tealish undertone to it. So it's not like, it looks pretty like, you know, sky blue here. It's not quite that. So take sky blue, add a little bit of teal to it, and then you'll get what the real color of this is. I'm trying to come up with something that would fit on this. So, hey, if you've got any suggestions, throw them in the comments down below. You know, when am I going to get to that? Who knows? But I was just looking at it going, that's a really nice sized piece of fabric for a decent small. I don't know what to put on it. So if any of you've got suggestions, put them in the notes down below. Would love to hear them. So that is the end of the haul portion of this episode. So we're just going to do a quick chat about Jolly July. So Jolly July is, I'm calling it, it's a version of Mania that was started by the Fat Quarter Shop. So if you want more details, you can always on YouTube look for Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube. I'll put a link to their channel down below as well. But they're the ones that really started off with Jolly July. And really, the purpose of Jolly July was to remind people that if you want to have things that are finished and complete for December, July is a really good time to start. You know, you may not complete all of them, but it's a really good time to start working on those things. So I was also watching the Sunshine Stitchers this week, and so Sheila, I think, uses Jolly July to focus on doing all of, she does ornaments for her family for Christmas, and so she spends July working on those ornaments. Again, it takes the pressure off of November, December, if you sort of go like, I stitched on them in July, and she's very clear. She does the stitching in July. She doesn't finish them in July, but she finishes the stitching, and then however she finishes the ornaments, she's got between the end of July and Christmas. And in my head, I think from previous videos I've watched of her, I think she does it because she just sort of goes like all of the Christmas finishing stuff isn't necessarily available in the stores right now, so now is not necessarily the best time to go to a store if you were looking for fabric to make it into a, you know, put a fabric backing on the ornament or whatever it is that she's doing with them. But she focuses in July on making sure that the stitching part of the ornament is complete. So it was started by Fat Quarter Shop. I know that Priscilla and Chelsea from the Real Housewives of Cross Stitch are doing Jolly July. Fat Quarter Shop has actually done a video of what their plans are for Jolly July. And really, I'd say it's like Mania. Welcome, let me explain the Judy version of the rules. Jolly July is what people are calling the opportunity to work on things that are Christmas related in July. End of rules. Are you obligated to start new things? No. Are you know, will some people be doing 31 new starts in the month of July for Jolly July? You bet. Does that mean you have to? Of course not. If you want to do one new start, I know that there's, who is it? I was watching someone where they were really sort of hoping that they were going to make Kringles a focus piece for them for Jolly July, and that they were hoping by the end of July that they could have, so they've already started Kringles, that they were hoping by the end of July that they would have that complete. And again, like if you finished it in July, it gives you lots of time to decide whether you're making it into a wall hanging, a pillow, getting it framed, and having it ready and available to hang as part of your Christmas decorating process. It sounded really great. I like Kringles, as you've noticed. I bought the Kringles pattern. Am I starting Kringles for Jolly July? Of course not. Because wait for it. I have a really big nativity that I'm working on. And by the way, this is Christmas related. So I'm calling this is what I'm working on in Jolly July. Doesn't that sound exciting? Now, I do have another pattern that I have started that is Christmas related. I have a couple of them. And so, as usual, I have all the freedom in the world and the luxury, because there are no cross-stitch police, to say at any point in time, if I don't want to work on this, For Jolly July, I could work on one of my other Christmas related pieces. I also sort of say for Jolly July, if I get to a certain point where I don't want to work on either of those and I want to work on something, anything else, I can do that too. And I can still call it Jolly July. But technically I'm calling it, again, so this has been an interesting year for me because this is the first year that I actually, as far as I'm concerned, fully participated in a version of Mania, which was Stitch Sania, and I enjoyed that experience, and that was really good for me. This is Jolly July. This is not the first time that Jolly July has been done. Technically, this is the first year that I get to say that, as far as I can tell, I'm fully participating in Jolly July because I am working on Christmas-themed stitching, as far as I know right now, for the entire month of July. I don't know. Is it all going to be Nativity? I don't know. It could be one of the other two ones. I don't know. Check back. Again, I'm still hoping to do a lot on the Marbeck Nativity, again, because I'm just feeling that pressure that I need to get them done so I can gift them so that the person who's getting them can enjoy them. Not that I wouldn't enjoy it. If things don't work out well, or who knows, you could gift it to someone and they could go, I really don't, this is too big for my house. My answer is great, gift it back to me. Anyway, we won't get into that. I'm sure it's going to be loved. Don't worry about it. So that's my plan for Jolly July. So you're all welcome to participate. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Jolly July can be whatever makes you jolly. Winter theme, hey, if only things with pink are the things that bring you joy, Jolly July could be you're only stitching on things that have pink. I don't know, still works for me. Call it Jolly July your way. Fantastic. It's our stitching. It should bring us joy. We should do the things that bring us peace, calm, enjoyment. That's what we should do. So that's the end of this week's Flosstube. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe and healthy. And I hope that you are finding enjoyment in your stitching. So I just encourage you to, I'm going to say this, I'm going to encourage you because I know a friend of mine will end up watching this saying, for those of you that have lost their stitchy bug, find something and spend, even if it's a few minutes on it, stitching this week, and see if it doesn't make you feel a little bit better. Try that. So from me to you, have a great week, and I hope that you find enjoyment in your stitching, and I hope to see you back next week. Have a good week, guys.